Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to give it maybe about 2 or 3 minutes. I know folks are either getting home on their drive home, hopefully driving safely listening to this Zoom, but we'll give folks a couple minutes to sign on and then we'll get started. We have a really great program in store. Really excited to have our friends from the League of Women Voters here to share some really great insights about Prop 50. For any of us who haven't voted yet, or maybe, say, hey, I voted, but I want to know what this means. They're going to break it down for us. So we are well educated as, we participate in our civic duty. So let's give it a couple of minutes, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, thank you. Get started at 6:05. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. All right, I see it getting close to 6:05, so I will get us started. Again, welcome everybody. I'm really so glad to see so many people on this evening to learn about Prop 50. This is amazing. What's really important is that we want to uplift that. We've invited the League of Women Voters, Ms. Penny and Ms. Mona here to allow us to hear a presentation from them, their organization. They're here to answer questions and answers. We're here to provide the Q&A part, I should say, on Prop 50. On the front end, I just want to say before we get into some other housekeeping things that this is a nonpartisan presentation, meaning we're not telling you how to vote, but we want to make sure that you're well informed when you are making your vote. We're going to get into a little bit of community voices before we hear from the League of Women Voters. So before that, there's some additional housekeeping that I'm going to transition us to, and I'm going to give it the floor to Sonia to do that.
Thank you, Justin. Buenas noches. This is for translation help. Son servicios de interpretación de español. Haga clic en la pestaña de interpretación en la barra en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Luego selecciona su idioma preferido para escuchar a nuestra traductora de español. Por favor, escoge uno, inglés o español. Please choose one, English or Spanish, or else you will not be able to hear anything. So we do not want that. So thank you so much. Gracias.
Great. Thank you so much, Sonia. We're going to get started. Before we even jump into things, I want to make sure that we are taking the time to talk about some community agreements. Before we get started, I think it's really important to level set and make sure we're on the same page about some really important things as we're in community, talking about some very important things. So we listen with care and give each other the space to be heard without interruption. everyone's on mute. But again, we want to make sure that we create those type of spaces. We build a safe and welcoming space where everyone can bring their whole selves. We choose words that encourage, support, and uplift each other. We stay open to new ideas and respect different ways of thinking. We value everyone's time and being present and making sure all voices have room to speak. We love to see your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure to get to them. And, what's really important is that we set these community agreements here because we want to make sure we allow this space to continue to be a space that is positive, safe, and welcoming for everyone. So I'm going to get in a little bit about our agenda for today. So we did our welcome, we did a little bit of our housekeeping. Really excited to have Miss Mona Fields and also Miss Penny Summers here about to talk to us about a breakdown of Prop 50. We're going to have a little Q&A session. And then a really exciting moment that we'll have is introducing our new community and parent engagement coordinator, Ms. Sonia Lopez, who you just heard from just a moment ago, but she'll have some time to introduce herself to everyone here, tee up a little bit of what to expect from Community Voices in 2026 and moving forward, and we'll close out from there. So we've got an hour. Get ready. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And again, just really excited to have so many of you all on. We're at 52 people, 51 people, right? This is amazing for us to hear about being civically educated as we have a special election this November 4th. So I'm going to get into a little bit about community voices because I always love to assume that maybe everyone here maybe doesn't know about our Community Voices program. And I want to give a little bit of an introduction to it as we get into the main program. So I'll be before you very briefly. So Community Voices is a Los Angeles County-wide advocacy program led by Crystal Stairs that focuses on building parent and provider leadership and really creating stronger advocates for our children and families and providers and the entire ECE system, the early education system. We do this through workshops, community organizing, civic engagement, which is what we're really leveraging here today, a part of our program, advocacy events, legislative interactions, meaning we do a lot of meetings with legislators to inform policy and a lot of the budget decision making that happens on behalf of children and families. And it's really critical work that we do. And, we're so grateful again for you all to be on because I see a lot of returning Community Voices members. And we'll make sure at the end we have a QR code for you all, and we'll also include it in our follow-up email if you maybe want to join Community Voices if you aren't already. Just a little bit of history. Community Voices was, really founded and established by Supervisor Holly Mitchell, who was then CEO of Crystal Stairs, and Congresswoman Sidney Comlager Dove, who really saw that there was a need to bring community together. One in two facets of ensuring that we have a parent and provider voice in community together advocating for early care and education. But what's also important about that, not just the advocacy, right, to make sure that our children and families get all that they need and the investments and resources that are critical, but it was also about the real development. That was a really critical piece because outside of advocating for our children and families in our community, it's really important that we create advocates within ourselves. So we want you all to leave being a part of Community Voices, being an advocate not only for our children and families, but being an advocate for yourself in your neighborhood, right? Being an advocate for yourself for your children, right? In the school setting, being an advocate for yourself, for your children, maybe in the doctor's office, right? These are the type of things that we really want to encourage. And that's what really this was really all about as this was created. And really also having a Los Angeles County unified voice as we talk about the really specific and diverse needs of Los Angeles County and as it relates to the entire state of California. What we do, which is really always my favorite part to talk about because we make it very simple and plain that, our three pillars are we educate, which is a really, leaned in pillar that we're doing here tonight. the education piece, right? Civic education, but we also empower. We want to make sure that you recognize that as we talk about the advocacy piece, as we talk about advocating for children and families, as we talk about the advocacy for ourselves that we leave after we leave after being in the space of community voices, to empower yourself to know that you are the best advocate for yourself. You are the best person to talk about the lived experience in order to make sure that the policies and the budget investments needed actually happen. It's because of your voice. It's because you come into the space, right? So empowerment is very critical. Telling your story and telling the story for those who aren't able to be in these spaces where decisions are made. And then advocate, which really kind of ties into what I just said. Advocacy is so critical. If not us, then who? And it's so important that community voices, right, are at the table, are able to talk about their experiences, are able to not, we can talk about the data, we can talk about the numbers, the bills, AB 528, all that good stuff, but it is when we are able to have real lived experience, when we are able to have people impacted by the policies and budget decisions at the table talking about what's going to happen if this passes, what's going to happen if this doesn't pass. So Community Voices has been serving our community for many years, and this is what we do. And we're really excited to, again, have you all here. And, as I will stop sharing screen and pass it over to the League of Women Voters, I just really want to kind of make sure that I leave you with at this moment before we go back to the rest of this presentation is our why. Our why is because we speak because children can't vote. And we really want to make sure that we know and we're really grounded in the fact that we want to make sure that we're doing this for our children. We're doing this for the next generation. Children don't get do-overs. And it's up to us to make sure that we are advocating for them so they can have the best experience in those very early years, which are so critical to their development and how they, what their success and their future looks like. And so with that, I will stop sharing. And again, I'm really excited to bring and introduce Ms. Mona Field and Ms. Penny Summers to talk to us about Prop 50.
Well,
You should be able to share screen.
should do advanced. That's it.
Okay, perfect.
All right, I set it up too soon. I'm sorry, my mistake.
No worries, no worries.
Mm.
We're excited for this great information.
Yeah, can I just, let's see, close this and because I've got, there we go. Okay, Mona, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm Larice Penny Summers, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles.
I'm not seeing it.
For those of you who are new to the league,
Miss Penny, we're not able to see it.
Rest of us.
Penny, it's not
Oh,
showing.
great. Okay. Well, oh, darn. I rehearse and rehearse. Okay.
Penny, listen, I can do the slideshow if that's easier.
All right. It must have been because I tried to set up too early. I am so sorry. All right, let me go here to share.
While Penny's doing that, this is Mona, and we're attempting to get a very brief video going as an overview. I do want to thank everyone who's here and truly thank you for the work you do directly with our children and grandchildren and your community and advocacy work. That was so impressive, learning more about what you do, and also your oh, here we go. Maybe we're going to see a video. I'll see you all during Q&A. Thank you.
I'm trying to get some of these. Okay, you should.
So we see it on the screen,
Yeah, all right.
but it's not playing yet. If we think
Informed
it's,
and active
oh,
participation
there we go.
in government. It helps shape public policy through education and advocacy. The League never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. The League operates at 3 levels, the local, which is us, state, and national, and we speak with one voice. So that's important to remember as we go through this workshop. The League, that's we, perform 2 separate distinct roles: voter service, education, and action advocacy. This workshop is presented as part of the voter service education. And we're proud to have a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion policy that guides our work. Now, just a brief land acknowledgement before we start our workshop. The League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles recognizes the Tongva and Chumash as the past, present, and future caretakers of the land, water, and cultural resources in the unceded territory of Los Angeles. We honor and respect the history of the original inhabitants and the places that preceded the founding of LA.
It'll be myself and Mona talking today, and as Penny mentioned as well, we're here with the education wing of the LWV. So we'll just be presenting educational information. We won't be taking a side or supporting any party. We'll be providing arguments for and against Prop 50. And then last thing I'd say on this introductory slide is that League of Women Voters, of course, has the women in the title, but it's welcoming everyone. So if you have people that want to be a part of educating your community about what's on the ballot and what are the important issues, then the League is a nonpartisan organization that can welcome you to help be a part of that. So today we'll be doing pros and cons for this special election that's coming up next month on Proposition 50.
This is my slide. Greetings, everybody. Keep in mind that our presentation is an effort to inform, and we will have time for questions and answers. So we're going straight through. Just a little background. Before 2008 in California, our legislators in Sacramento always drew the boundaries for our congressional districts as well as our state legislative districts. And that is traditional. Most every state, with very few exceptions, has their legislature draw the boundaries for their congressional districts. And frankly, it has been traditionally in every state a gerrymander, which you may recall that word means the manipulation of the redistricting process. So we had a gerrymander like every other state. And then in 2008, there was a ballot measure which passed, and it changed our state constitution, and it created the Independent Redistricting Commission. That commission is made up, as you see here, of 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and 4 unaffiliated with either major party. And the people on the commission are chosen in a very non-political way. They are not selected by any elected official. They apply, they go through a very rigorous screening process, and they are selected based on a variety of skills, geographic location, diversity, and so forth. And since the measure passed in 2008, we have had 2 of these commissions, both in 2011 after the 2010 census, and then again in 2021 after the 2020 census.
All right, so now that'll take us into what we're going to be voting on, which is Prop 50. And so this is titled the Election Rigging Response Act. And what it would do is authorize temporary changes to the congressional district maps for California in response to Texas's partisan redistricting. It's per the text of the amendment. And what this is a legislative constitutional amendment. So it was a proposed amendment to our state constitution that was proposed by the California state legislature. It would pass with a simple majority, 50% plus one. A yes vote would mean let's use a new method for drawing maps from 2026 to 2030. That would be this gerrymandered map drawing. And then return back to having the California Citizens Redistricting Commission draw them after the 2030 census onward. A no vote would mean let's not have any changes to the California Constitution in regards to this. Let's just keep on using the current maps that we have that were drawn by the California Citizens Redistricting Commission after the 2020 census, as Mona mentioned.
So we need to always look at what it costs taxpayers to change our state constitution. There are two major costs. Well, first, I'm starting at the bottom. There is a cost to this special election. That number is not on the slide, and current estimates about $250 million. That's for the cost of holding the election. But separate from that, if measure Prop 50 passes, then the cost to the state and counties would be a few $1,000,000 for counties, one time 200,000 to the state, and that is simply for changing maps. In other words, current maps are based on the independent redistricting done in 2021, which gives us about 5 swing districts. The independent redistricting did result in about 5 districts in our state, in the Central Valley, Orange County primarily, where we've seen them go back and forth over these years to a Republican Congress member, then to a Democrat. That kind of more purple district, if you want to call it, would not exist. And that's where these costs would come in, because everywhere they would have to be drawing new maps based on if Prop 50 passes. And again, it is temporary, so it would change again back to independent redistricting and different maps as of 2030.
Okay, so now before we move on to the arguments for and against Prop 50, we want to do just another little quick disclaimer, and that's that the arguments we're about to present have come from supporters and opponents of the proposition that have been pulled directly from the official voter information guide. So the League of Women Voters does not vouch for their accuracy. They do not represent the League's point of view, and the opinions that are in there are opinions. They may not be based on fact, but we're going to present to you what the opponent side say and what the proponent side say as well.
So the supporters of Prop 50, and I won't read you the list on the right, you can see some of the major names and organizations. Their arguments are that this is temporary, that it is an emergency. And again, just to remind everyone, the whole thing came up because of what happened in Texas, where President Trump asked the Republican leaders who run Texas to redraw their maps in the middle of the decade, which is not common, to give him 5 more Republican seats. So again, California, this is the emergency response. That's why it's called the Emergency Election Rigging Act. In our case, another plus, not our legislature, but we, the voters, will have the maps and have the power to approve or not the new maps that are available to the public. They're in your statewide special election brochure as well as online. The proponents say this keeps California a leader in protecting national democracy, given, again, the events in Texas, and that it strengthens democracy by making sure that neither party, in this case Republicans, don't have an unfair advantage in Congress. Again, that is based on Texas responding to the president and creating 5 districts, which it is believed will become Republican. Remember, in any case, voters have the final say, and yes, gerrymandering can impact the outcome, no question, but ultimately voters will vote in whichever districts exist, whether it be Texas or California or any other state.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the arguments against Prop 50. And so the opponents of Prop 50 say that this proposition is a power grab by politicians, that it would replace the open public process of the Independent Redistricting Commission that's currently in place. They say that it would hurt fair representation and that it would allow politicians to control the district lines for the next few years and could open the door to permanent control. And they'd also cite that, as Mona mentioned, the cost of holding this election has been $200 million or maybe 250. Estimates are still being made more accurate as time goes on. And as well, I won't read the names on the side here, but you can see some of the leaders here that are advocating against Prop 50. You'll see some of these names come up in a moment when we go on to the contributions for and against Prop 50, which we'll cover right now.
And I do want to mention that the numbers are a bit of a moving target. We've been updating these almost daily in terms of contributions. Just for some interesting background, on the yes side, first of all, you could see that the yes side has raised quite a bit more than the no side. And it's also very interesting where the money has come from. On the yes side, there are literally thousands of individuals, about 40% of the total yes, and I can't do the math, but you get an idea. It's a big chunk, many millions, about almost $50 million, is in small donations of $100 or less from all over the country. And then of course, you see some big donors here, unions, the governor himself or his PAC. And again, if you want to look at the details, we're going to give you some links to websites that you can look at the list of literally thousands of people donated to yes, particularly. On the no side, there are many fewer individuals, only about 1% of the total, about $8,000 has come in these small contributions. And in fact, as you see, the very biggest donors, the individual biggest is Charles Munger Jr., his 33 million. Some of you may recall that in August, when the legislature had not quite firmed up this ballot measure, you may already have received a mailer saying no gerrymander, and it was paid for by Charles Munger. The Congressional Leadership Fund, of course, is a Republican PAC, and that's the other major donor to the No on 50 campaign.
So you'll note that there are those, 5 links here, and then there's also the QR code in the bottom left. If you scan that QR code with your phone or iPad, it'll take you to a document that has all these links easily available to click. So you can click on them that way, or we'll send the slide deck out afterwards and they'll be clickable in that format as well. But I'll talk about some of these real quick. For the Cal Matters Voter Guide and the LAS Voter Guide, these are really useful, nonpartisan sources that will give you, similar information to what we've been presenting today, the arguments for and against, as well as background, if you want to do further reading. And then there's the LWV Education Fund, Easy Voter Guide there as well. And then these two at the bottom are really cool because they'll show you how your district would change if Prop 50 passes. Cal Matters is the first link there. You can actually put in your address and it'll tell you exactly where you are, what your district is, and how it would change.
Justin, we are ready for questions. I'm not sure if the Q&A function is functioning, but if people want to put questions in the chat, we from the League hope that this is helpful as people begin to finalize their voting decision. But we're ready.
Great, great. Thank you, Ms. Mona. I appreciate this. Really well-informed presentation from you all. Yes, as Ms. Mona said, that we do have the Q&A open, but I also just enabled the chat just in case anybody was having any difficulty finding the Q&A portion. The chat is open for folks to add any questions. I know that was some good information to take in. So we're maybe processing questions. But I have just a really simple question just to kind of get us going. And legal women voters is really okay. Oh, great. We have a question. But I will ask this one still. Why is it important for voters to understand ballot propositions before voting?
Well, obviously, the League's focus and mission is educated voters. And of course, it's for everybody, not just women. Just to be clear, we were founded in 1920, and that was the year that on the national level, women got the right to vote. And so our original purpose was to educate these newly empowered women voters. Now, of course, our purpose is to educate as many people as we can. And we, understand not everyone is eligible to vote, but we think even non-voters can benefit and share the information with others in their community.
Thank you so much for that. And we actually do have a question in the chat. How will the bill help or affect us? And, of course, I'm assuming this is talking about how will the proposition help or affect us?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, that's a question that involves your personal judgments, your political perspective. Again, the people in favor, such as Governor Newsom, former President Obama, and others who you may see on commercials and ads saying yes on 50, they're saying that because of what has happened in our country over the last however many months since President Trump took office, many people are concerned about the direction, and particularly because the president has done something which has never happened in our history. More than one thing, perhaps, but in terms of this proposition, the president went to a Republican-controlled state, that would be Texas, and said, do a mid-decade redistricting, bring me 5 more Republicans to the House of Representatives. And I hope many of you or all of you know the House right now is very closely divided. There's only a few votes difference between Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans have a majority, but it's close. So the president was probably informed by advisors that typically in the mid-year between 2 presidential elections, that the other party tends to pick up seats in the House. And so he probably decided, well, I don't want Democrats to have a majority in the House because that could slow down my work, my agenda. And so he said, Texas, will you please do this highly unusual redrawing of these congressional boundaries, make sure to gerrymander it so I can get 5 more Republicans. So that's where this started. And then in our state, Governor Newsom, and you may have heard in a commercial, I will quote our governor saying, we will fight fire with fire, meaning we will redraw lines in order to get 5 more Democrats. I do want to remind everyone that, of course, the redrawing of lines is not 100,000% guarantee of outcome. There are other factors involved in how people vote. However, when the lines are really gerrymandered, it is hard. They tend, in other words, they don't know how we vote as individuals, these political experts, but they know how neighborhoods vote and how communities vote, and they know how to draw lines so that, for example, in Texas, 5 more districts will have maybe 60% Republicans and only 40% Democrats. That's going to make it tough for Democrats and will give a huge edge to Republicans. California's response is the reverse, right? To make more districts where Democrats will dominate and potentially elect 5 more Democrats. It's, that's the way this is being played out. I'm not sure I answered your question of how it will help. I think it depends on how you feel about what's been going on in our country.
I really appreciate that answer. That's really, yeah, very great insights. Any other questions? Thank you so much. These are really great questions folks are asking. I think we got one question answered in the chat, so I won't raise that. We got a comment saying, I appreciate you using the words that are easy to understand and digestible. So thank you, and thank you both actually for providing that. That's so important. Ms. Mona, as I know you and Ms. Penny understand that, we have a lot of stuff that is sometimes hard for us as voters to understand, as we have a lot of, we feel consequential things going on, but it's like, how do I digest this? So I just really want to uplift that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is a critical part of our mission, is to make things easier, because let's face it, sometimes these propositions are so confusing, and it takes a huge amount of time to figure it out. And then hopefully you will invite us back next fall, when we probably will have 10 California propositions, and we'll try our best to help clarify those.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited you said that. And I got this on recording too. And I got
Okay.
about 61 witnesses. So
Yes.
absolutely, we would love to have you back, and we would love to have that, because even just as you mentioned with the 10 upcoming, we had so many on the ballot in November in the state of California. And I remember we held something, but I mean, it was like, wow. And we actually had the Legal Women Voters come and join us. We have a colleague of yours join us then, and it was so informative. So we really appreciate that. And one more comment in the chat, just saying, so informative. Thank you all so much. And just want to, I'm holding some space, just if there's any other burning questions while we have these two lovely ladies on to join us to break it down for us and answer any of our questions. Just want to hold space for any other questions, but I do want to make sure that you all hold tight, all of our participants on this call, because we got a couple more exciting things to talk about before we end off for tonight. But I want to make sure we keep our friends from the Legal Women Voters on to answer any of your questions about Prop 50. So I'll just hold space for just a couple more seconds to see if there's any other questions.
I saw that one person did mention Project 2025, and it's not that we're opposed or promoting that, but if you have not read or at least attempted to look at some of the parts of that project, it's a good idea to do that.
I think someone wanted to know which link for them to see if their particular congressional district would change. And I believe that it's one of the two at the bottom. I think either Cal Matters or Ballotpedia. And we know that for some of you, the QR code that's still up on the screen, I think you get all those web links. And yes, if you're curious to know how if this passes by a simple majority of California voters, how it would affect you, whether you would end up potentially in a different congressional district, you can find out. I don't know if there's, the questions are starting to come in.
Yeah, we got another one. Yep. Really good one. If Prop 50 passes, when would the new maps take effect?
Okay, they will take effect in time for June 2026, which we know is around the corner, the primary. Remember, the House of Representatives, we have 52 from California. They have to run every 2 years. So this coming June of 2026, the new maps will be in place, and we will vote in that primary. And then, of course, we will move towards November 2026, and then under the new maps, if it passes. And again, remembering that those maps will endure for 3 elections, 2026, 2028, and 2030. Then, and the 2030 census will occur, assuming things are happening as they should. And then we would return to the more independent redistricting approach, less political, with a little bit of less gerrymandering. That is the proposition, the way it is written, that it is temporary.
Yeah, and thank you so much for uplifting that, because in my little research that I did, I saw that this is a constitutional amendment to ultimately allow this to be in place, not to be redundant, but just to emphasize what you said, for the elections in 2026 midterms, which is going to be really huge for a lot of different reasons, right? Not only federally, but even here in the state of
Right.
California. And of course locally, but also, not only 2026, 2028, and 2030. And then, of course, the constitutional amendment says that it will return to the Independent Redistricting Commission based off of the census. And so I think that's such an important point, as I've been hearing folks ask questions about it, like, okay, does this mean this is permanent? And I'm glad you provided that clarity about that.
Yeah, thank you. And by the way, folks, it's interesting to note that Californians amend our state constitution almost every election, because for us, amending our state constitution happens by the voters and by simple majority. So it's quite different than what you may remember learning about the federal constitution, which is a whole nother animal and is much, much more difficult to amend. So, and by the way, I noticed some of the comments talking about how confused people have been. All I can say is we are all bombarded by propaganda. Yes, no, both sides telling us that they are going to save democracy for us. And that's why, again, the League is very grateful to all of you for making time to join us. I'm glad it's recorded. Feel free to disseminate it to others who couldn't be with us this evening. We really want people to have the information they need to make their personal judgment based on their personal and political perspectives.
Well, with that, I think that's a great way to conclude with saying thank you both, Ms. Mona and Ms. Penny, for joining us this evening, giving us that really great information. So well timed, so important. Just to emphasize what Ms. Aisha said, who's one of our strong champions and community voices. I mean, she said thank you for the information, but I just want to emphasize this last part as you all may depart, is that she will be taking this information back to the community. And I think that's so important as we have these type of conversations, is not only how we receive it, right? Us on this call, right? At almost 7 o'clock at night, we're up to be able to receive it, but we're able to take this information and go inform our community, our family, our friends, folks that we have some type of conversation relationship with, to let them know about what is going on, and so that they can make informed decisions. And so that's what's so important.
And if I may, just before I depart,
Yeah.
I want to again thank all of you for the wonderful, important work you do on behalf of our children and grandchildren and their education. You are the backbone of our future. And I personally extend my gratitude to all of you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Now, Justin, will you take back the sharing?
Yeah, you'll have to stop sharing, and then I'll be able to. Actually,
I don't.
Actually, it says I could replace it. Let me see if I can do that.
Yeah.
To Miss Penny, I'll take care of it from here. Let me see.
Okay.
Okay. Well, even before I start sharing, or as I share, give me 1 second, everyone. So, let's see. Boom.
Yeah, all of a sudden there we go.
Yeah. Okay,
All
great.
right. Thank you
so
very much.
Thank you. Okay, actually, I'm gonna stop sharing really quickly, because I want to make sure I take this time and thank you for all of you that stayed on, because there's some really exciting news that I wanted to be able to utilize in this time, is to talk about community voices. We've hired Sonia Lopez, our new community and parent engagement coordinator. I'm so excited to have her on this call today. It's so important as we talk about, and I'm looking at some of our advocates that have been with us over time. I shout out Miss Aisha, but I know it's a few of us on this call that I see you all on that have been with us at Community Voices for years, but even in recent years, as we've been wanting to make sure that we are getting prepared for our big advocacy fights that are coming up very soon. It's really important that we have someone who is here, who is dedicated to this work and dedicated to making sure that we are well informed and prepared to move this work forward. So I want to take this time to give Ms. Sonia Lopez the floor to introduce herself, and then she'll actually be helping us close out for today. So go ahead, Sonia.
Yes, so drum roll. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Justin. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Sonia Lopez, and I'm super excited to be here as the Community and Parent Engagement Coordinator with Community Voices. I'd love to share a little bit about myself and what brought me here today. I am a child of immigrants. I grew up navigating systems that weren't built for families like mine, but that reality hit even harder years later when I stepped into the role of raising my niece. I saw all over again how broken systems can hold back our children, push families out, and leave parents and providers really fighting just to do what is right. So I decided to get my bachelor's and my master's in early childhood education. I became a teacher, and then I faced a whole different set of things such as low pay, lack of respect, and burnout that so many in the field know very well. So I say that all to say that I really am approaching this from a holistic perspective. But in all those experiences, I realized something very important, and that's that the real power isn't in the system, it's in us, it's in parents, it's in providers, in community members like yourselves who show up, speak out, and fight for what our children deserve. And that's what brought me to grassroots organizing and exactly what Community Voices is all about. So this program was built from the ground up by two women who believed what we all know already is true, that community members shouldn't have to earn a seat at the table, but we should be part of the construction of the table. We should be flipping it over when we need to. We deeply believe in the power of collective voice, and that's the power of people like you. So whether you're part of Community Voices before, or if you're starting to explore, I care about your story, and I really want to invite you to go deeper. I would love to get to know each one of you. I care about your story, and I really want to invite you into the power of community and take real next steps. It isn't easy, but we will do it together. And that leads me to my next slide, was some calls to action. And the calls to action are really to stay connected to Crystal Stairs and Community Voices. So I'll put my email down in the chat, but please feel free to contact me. I would love to get to know you better. And yeah, I would love for you to get to know me better as well. And ballots have been mailed to you, and make sure you spread the word. Encourage family and friends to vote. And we have also a QR code in which you can scan, and then you can sign up to be a Community Voice member if you would like. And I would love that. So thank you all so much for being here. I know it's a long day and it's a long week, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Can we give Miss Sonia some clap emojis, some good positivity in the chat, something? I'm so excited to have you here, Sonia. This is going to be, this is such a critical time. I appreciate you sharing your story. And this is, and why you're so dedicated to this work. And I'm just so grateful to have you on the team. We're all so grateful to have you on the team. Folks, I put the link in the chat, but there's also the link that you see, the QR code, I should say, there as well. Community Voices is on the move, y'all. So if you're not signed up and a part of our membership to get our upcoming newsletters, upcoming advocacy opportunities, you heard the League of Women Voters. I got them on recording, said they're going to come back and talk to us about these propositions that are going to be coming up even in the next 2026 election year, which is going to come very soon. And I know all of us need to know, I need to know about what's going on. And so there's all these different opportunities that we want to make sure that we create for you all. And so sign up if you aren't already. Again, we have Sonia here that's going to be a really great leader for us, and just really excited again. And thank you all. We got still a good number of you all still on this call at 7 p.m. And that's really amazing because we're coming here to get informed, not only on Proposition 50, but just to be informed community members so that, and I'll go back to what I said earlier, so that we can take this back to our community. And so that's what's so important. And again, just so grateful again to have you all on. With that, you know, you get a 8 minutes back of your time. And again, we appreciate you all being on. Stay connected, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.